So throughout the next 3 days, we're going to see 120 plus speakers here on stage. We only have one stream in the event. The only times there are breaks is when we have an hour networking break for lunch, the morning time before we start. We start at 10 a.m. so you can wake up, get your exercise in, kill off any priority emails, and then kind of come here with a bit more focus than if we started really early. But we don't have a bunch of scheduled coffee breaks. It'd make our life easier because we'd have to book less speakers to be on stage. But likely out of 17 discussion panels, there'll be one or two that maybe you'll want to use a networking time for, and maybe it's not exactly related to what you're focused on getting done here today. So my name is Richard C. Wilson. I started Family Office Club 16 years ago. I started it when I lived in Boston. The last 16 years, I've spent about $25 million hosting 250 live events such as this. So we're always trying to make them 2 to 5% better each time, or hopefully more sometimes. So if you really love something we're doing, don't love something we're doing, we appreciate the candid feedback because that's how we get better. It's by listening to all of you and tweaking it. I've been to all 250 of our events. So far, I haven't missed a flight or gotten so sick I couldn't come, and I don't want to get bored at my own event. So I keep things moving very quickly. The longest anyone is on stage in 3 days is 20 minutes. There's no professors, there's no economists, there's no one showing endless graphs that nobody in the audience understands of macroeconomics. There's no time for that, right? So if someone starts to get a little bit boring, they're going to be off the stage before you know it, but we're pretty sure that's not going to happen more than once or twice over the whole event, and we try to keep things lively. Something that's important to understand about our events is every investor that's on a discussion panel, we ask them what they want to invest in, how they like to structure deals, what are their investment preferences. So sometimes the people who are working so hard to meet someone valuable out there by coffee, they meet all of the investor mandates and mentions of what people want to invest in on stage, and they get the least out of the event, even though they're working the hardest out there trying to shake everybody's hand and see who they are, right? So that's really important, is to have at least one person in the room from your team at all times, because we have everybody state what their investor mandate is. And inside of our mobile app, for your membership, you get access to the mobile app platform. We have over 30 HD recorded full-length conferences. We have over 30 full-length workshops and masterminds, and we have over 1,000 investors stating what they want to invest in our portal right now. Some of those are in the form of a recorded conference. Some are little short 5-minute investor mandate videos. So just a few things to keep in mind if you're a member or new to our club. So one thing we're doing is a social media challenge. If you would tag us and also use the hashtags of Family Office Club and Family Office Super Summit, you can post twice per day of the conference. And then on the last day, we're going to pick a winner. And the winners will get a pair of Beats noise canceling headphones as just a thank you for being here and just sharing, what was the biggest insight you got from the day or something that you enjoyed at the event, etc. So feel free to tag us and share there. We'll have a social media contest and announce that winner on the last day. What I'm going to do is share a few slides on how to maximize your time here. Again, we've done a lot of these events and we see who gets the most out of them versus not. So we're going to share some tips and strategies, and we're going to talk about a few billionaire scaling strategies as well. So here's a few quick stats on us. We have 6.7 million social media followers. We have more thought leadership out in the industry than every other family office organization combined. So we've put out 13 books. We have 900 videos, or I guess only 800 videos on YouTube, 1,100 in our podcast called the Family Office Podcast. And it's really our thought leadership in the industry that's really helped grow our business, because lots of you were able to benefit from videos and books and articles and interviews on other people's podcasts, and that de-risks your time coming here today because you know that we're genuine and working hard to add value before you've even spent $1 of your money to be a member of our club. We do have the #1 most visited website on Billionaires at billionaires.com, and we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. And we're the #1 largest on LinkedIn for investment and finance in terms of our social followers, not just in the family office space. So I feel like we're just getting started. And I grew up in the Boy Scouts. I'm a 3rd-generation Eagle Scout, and it's really our company's values, our family's values that really, I think, separate us from others. Part of it is focus, part of it is work ethic, and part of it is just the values that we try to hire and fire by within our team. So some of you may really love golf, so you might not like this comment, but watching golf on TV takes a certain type of personality, I think. And so I think a lot of investment conferences move deadly slow, and we try to have our event feel more like watching an F1 race up close than watching golf on TV. That's one of our goals for today. There's no paid speakers. Every one of our 120 speakers are here because they want to make connections and get deals done. We have 0 celebrity army generals and famous people that we shoveled out $50,000 to. They're going to speak and then run off the stage and not talk to anybody. Everyone who's here is trying to get things done, get to know people, and that's part of having a genuine community, is that is the case for everybody. Sometimes people come here and they think, oh, I need to meet 2 partners, I need to meet 2 investors, et cetera, and you have some very relationship-oriented goals of being here. One of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, says that people with the most intention in the room win. It doesn't mean anyone else loses. It just means you know what you came here for. But if you can come away with some great investment structures, one new investment structure idea could make you hundreds of thousands or $1 million. Just one structure that you hear of, even if you met nobody that you kept in touch with. We've closed many deals where people told us to go away. It's never going to get done. You're wasting your time. And then we got it done by saying, well, would you do it under this structure? And they said, yeah, we'll do that deal. And then we get the deal done. Some of our best deals get done that way. You can come here and learn strategies, get more high conviction on the strategy you already had in mind. You might meet some investors, joint venture partners, co-GP partners, peers you could keep in touch with. And we've had people who come here and get a $30 million seed investment over a dinner. We've had someone who came to our Super Summit last year, and they sourced 2 portfolios of hospitality assets worth $640 million that are now being signed and contributed to a portfolio of hospitality assets. So we have small deals, we have medium-sized deals, and a lot of large deals that get done in this room. For this whole event, and for any conference you go to for the rest of your life, don't go off and do things without talking to an attorney, of course. Don't invest in things before conducting due diligence. They may say that they're backed by Family Office Club, or you can invest because they're a member of Family Office Club. It's a conference room, right? So out of 1,000 people, we haven't done 1,000 background checks on every single person in the room. We haven't done full due diligence on all the people in the room. If somebody claims that they have my stamp of approval, or our company's, you can just message me directly, just kind of confirm what the situation is. But just like at any conference, make sure you're being a good steward of your own capital and time, et cetera, of course. This is our team. This is how we get everything done. We have about 25 people on our team now. Many of them have been with us for 7 or 8 years now, from when our office was based right here in Key Biscayne for 5 years. This is my home team. This is my wife there in the top, and I've got 3 daughters that are 7, 9, and 11 years old. We like to do one epic travel trip each quarter. We believe that being ultra healthy can propel you to being ultra wealthy, and it's more important than just being ultra wealthy. And I think that most of us want to be an example of success to people around us that includes health, that includes good family relationships, et cetera. So that's part of what our club is all about. This was a trip I went on with my wife just about 14 months ago. And you all have a time cost of being here. It's another reason why we go really quickly. Regardless of what airplane ticket or Uber ride or other costs you had to get here, it's your time that you're really investing. And that's why we want to cover so much over the next 3 days. I'm not going to read off all of these, but we've gotten small investments done through here, like a $25 million investment, a $12 million agreement, a $450,000 investment, but also some $300 million size investments. We have one group that was here 2 years ago, 30 million AUM. They connected with a billionaire. The billionaire grew them to 130 million AUM in 1 year, and they had been working for 7 years to get to 30 million in AUM. So that's the thing with family offices, is that one check of $40 million is equal to 400 $100,000 checks. So if you think about that, you might take some time to let those mature. You might need to plant some seeds, and then over time, some things might get done. The billionaire we've done the most deals with, we did 0 deals with for 6 years, and now we've closed 19 transactions with them. So it's just one example. Hopefully it doesn't always take 6 years to do deals with people, but the larger the investor, sometimes the longer it can take. But otherwise, if you're spot on what they're looking for, it could be 6 weeks. Our club focuses because the wealthiest families I know focus. So the club in general has all types of investors. All types of investments are of interest to different panelists and investors you'll see here. But for me personally, in the real estate side, we're focused on short-term rental space. On the operating business side, 95% of our energy goes into acquiring medical, dental practice equity stakes. We currently today in medical clinic capital have 27 equity stakes. or 27 medical practice locations in the portfolio, doing about $60 million a year in revenue. And we look for profitable, well-run, usually multi-location medical dental practices, not the real estate, not software, not medical devices, not bio, pharma, et cetera. This is the Medical Clinic Capital logo and diagram. The STR division is called investorresidences.com. For those of you who have invested there, we just sold our Sedona property. We held it for exactly 1 year to the day, and we got over a 35% return on that deal. Not all of our deals are going to go that well. It's just a value add opportunity in Sedona. That was that asset. We sold it for $1.95 million, and we bought it for $950K. I spent 12 years negotiating the purchase of Billionaires.com, and some of you have heard me talk about this before, so I'm going to highlight some new insights I've been getting from interviewing 100 billionaires publicly. We've interviewed Jeff Hoffman, Mark Cuban, Tony Robbins, some non-famous billionaires you haven't heard of before. And the whole premise here is that if you want to learn anything, you should go to the masters. And if you're trying to learn basketball and you don't know what you're doing, you could probably learn a lot from one of the top players at Duke. But if you had a chance to learn from Michael Jordan, maybe read his advice first, right? It's probably pretty common sense. But we're going to bring up a little survey here. If you can get out your mobile phones, we're going to switch over and show a little Slido survey. So you can go to slido.com and enter that number, or you can use the QR code there. And if you could just answer not books about billionaires, books written by billionaires. How many books have you read that was authored by a billionaire themselves? And then we'll be able to see here what the audience answers. And some of the context around this is that most of us in the room have read a couple hundred books. You probably don't count. I don't count how many books I've read, but 100, 200, maybe 300 if you're a really avid business reader. And what I'm finding is that most of us are reading books from people who are really good at marketing their books, and they're not really good at business compared to billionaires, like a Michael Jordan versus a Duke. They're probably pretty good at business, but they're really good at marketing their books, and it should be the opposite. We should probably be mostly only reading books from all the billionaires first. Read the books from the LeBron James and the Kobe Bryants and the Larry Birds before we read books from a bunch of college players, right? So you can see from the graph that most people in the room have read 0 to 3 books from a billionaire, and only 3% of people in the room have read 20 plus books from a billionaire. That means almost everyone in the room is reading books from people who are not the absolute winners. They're not the Olympians, they're the college athletes. And their book might still be very good, but I don't care how bad the grammar is, how fragmented the book is. I just want billionaire mental models going from their brain to my brain. That's why I'm not reading any books that are not written by a billionaire until I've read the 240 that are written by them. All right, we can switch back to the slides. Thank you. So if you need to get started on a couple cool books in the space that I found are really powerful, if you haven't read these 20 books, I would recommend you pick up a couple. Almost all of them are on Audible, and we've got a list of all 240 if anybody wants it. But these are great books and very powerful. So Bezos, now he can sell anything he wants. That stress for him and most people he knows, it doesn't come from a large workload. It comes from there being a problem that you need to take action on and you're not. And that causes stress. It's a frustration with yourself not taking action on something you need to do. And I thought that was a great insight directly from a billionaire. One of the most common things I've found now after reading just about 60 books from billionaires and interviewing 27 billionaires is they're almost all super curious, voracious learners, and almost all voracious readers. They're always sucking in information, and they're very excited and curious about what they're doing. Warren Buffett is famous for reading 4 to 7 hours a day. One of my friends, Evan Pagan, went up and he got to interview Steve Jobs and Bill Gates on the same day, and they both started out saying, and he basically asked them, what's the secret to all your success? It's amazing what you got done. They both said, they started out with, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. We didn't do everything right all along the way. But Bill Gates said, you have to first get one successful product, like Microsoft Office, and then you hire great managing directors and build other products. And Steve Jobs had a completely different answer. He said, we didn't do everything right, but I think you really have to care. And for him, it was all about being passionate, really caring about the quality and every little detail. But they both admitted they made lots of mistakes along the way. They just reinvest in the winners. And so I thought that was really interesting to hear. Hopefully it's beneficial to you as well. Richard Branson, he has over 500 companies. He's famous to working like Blackstone. He'll find a good partner, give him 50% upside, have him run a division, and that's how he's grown so many companies. But not all of his companies have been successful. He had one called Virgin Brides that couldn't find any customers, and they had to close down. Mark Cuban has a quote that I wanted to share. It's one of my favorite quotes I've ever seen from a billionaire. He basically says, it's not about the connections, it's not about how much money you have, it's all about your ability to outwork and outlearn everybody else. And I find that so true when studying other billionaires, but also it's kind of a great equalizer, right? If everyone else doesn't want to put in the work to read everything possible on your space, and you do, then you have a huge edge, and those books might have cost you $8, $12 on Audible, or sometimes nothing to study these people. And so I find that this is something motivating to read, and also lots of people say, oh, well, it seems like you work so hard. How are you having the most fun year of your life? Which is going to be one of my topics I speak on later in this event. And what I find is that people are really passionate about what they're doing. To other people, it looks like so much hard work. But to themselves, most of it's exciting. Sometimes there's issues with an employee or issues with a partner or a project not going as planned, of course. But it's really about working harder on being smarter, and then you're more effective all the time. I'm going to do a talk tomorrow on average equals death. This is David Goggins. And we're going to talk about why this is such an important topic for our industry. And obviously, billionaires are not average. They don't act average. They don't operate in an average way. If you did, at best, you'd be like the average person out there, the average investment firm, the average investor, and nobody wants that. We have a lot of speakers that are well known at the event here today. Joe Williams is here with us. Glad he's here. He's going to be on stage a few times. And the model that Keller Williams Realty came up, he's the co-founder of Keller Williams, was different, and it changed the industry, and they grew to be the largest real estate brokerage firm in the world. That's a very common aspect around billionaires. They reject the average, they reject the norm, they do something very different, not just a little bit different. We've got one company here called Lyric Cycles, EV company, doing something very different as well that stands out. We have another company here, Harry Clore connected us to Tony Robbins to do the interview. It came up on stage, heard I was interviewing billionaires, and Tony Robbins answered our questions within like minutes right here because he's on the board and is a financial backer of Harry Clore's robotics company, Beyond Imagination. Picture of one of the robots there. We have Bob here who took SkyMall public. Most of you probably flipped through SkyMall when you're bored on airplanes. He took that company public, took another company public, and now he has a group called Zinni Home. He's here at the event. So there's lots of innovators here at the event that you'll meet over the next few days. So all of the billionaires that I've studied demand excellence, have a big work ethic. They have exponential big thinking, not linear type thinking. And other people tell them they couldn't get something done, and they got it done anyways. So these are some of the things that get me motivated and excited. We are trying to interview 100 billionaires. We're only at 27 so far. If you refer us to someone, just like Harry Clore did, we will thank you, link to your company's website, link to your LinkedIn profile above the billionaire interview, not buried at the bottom so nobody sees it. And then when we email blast it out or put it on social media, you'll get the credit there as well, and we'll thank you in many places for a decade plus to come. So we definitely appreciate the help. Elon Musk, Taylor Swift has the questions in front of her, probably 1% chance that she'll answer them, who knows, but since I live with 6 females, I'm glad that she became a billionaire recently, so there's more billionaire ideas going in my brain in my household recently. Michael Jordan would be a dream interview to do if anyone has connections there. Strategic choke points we're going to talk about later on in the event, but we talk about them a lot within our club, and that's a common thing that billionaires try to acquire. Check out this audio interview on billionaires.com with Tony. He made $400 million off of the law of proximity and being near investors, near capital. That's what you have here in this room over the next 3 days. And he said because of that, in one transaction, he cleared $400 million in profit. This we're going to talk about on day 3, brute force reciprocation. Cutting out toxins and anchors. Probably don't need to read off all the bullet points on this one just to save some time. But a lot of times we hang on to an employee for too long or partnership that's too long, and I find that billionaires are good at focusing on cutting off anchors and putting energy into what's working, not energy into things that are not working. There's a saying that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but it's also the squeaky wheel that gets replaced sometimes. And sometimes that's better than giving it attention. I think you should always aim to have the most fun year of your life. And the reason why is that then you don't put up with bad business models, bad JV partners, bad employees, and you know yourself so well, you're only focused on the things you find are fun because you're passionate about what you do. And I find when you stack all those things on top of each other, then that's why billionaires get so much value out of every hour they put into their day. So that's what I'm talking about here on this slide. Almost all of the billionaires I see, why would you put up with a bad business model if everything else is amazing and you have multiple businesses? You'd be like, oh, sell that business off. Just get it off our balance sheet. We don't want that time distraction at all. Howard Marks wrote this book, The Most Important Thing, multi-billionaire, and he's a founder of Oak Tree Capital. And it's important for this event because he says that when things get bad, you should be more interested in investing and not be more cautious. You should be cautious when things are going really well, right? And when things are toxic and everyone thinks you're really not intelligent to be investing right now, that's when you get the best deals of a lifetime. So I think right now we're in the middle of that phase where people are being more timid. It's much harder to raise capital, but your money's worth a lot more right now. Last comment here is just don't assume that if someone doesn't have the name family office, that they aren't a family office. A lot of people here in the room, they might say, oh yeah, we're in the car wash business, or we own a restaurant, or we own a few of this. Well, they might own 140 of them, or maybe they just sold 80 of them to Goldman Sachs and they're worth $100 million. Most people in the room here who are ultra wealthy don't have a name tag saying I'm the CIO of a family office. And if you go and ask them, do you have a family office? They may say no. They might be wealthier than the person next to them who says they have a family office. So it should just be helpful to everyone in the room, build relationships, get to know each other, be helpful to each other, and just know that being kind and polite and professional and helpful and concise. There's a lot of people in the room, so cornering someone and telling them 30-minute pitch of your story, is probably monopolizing their time. And just realize not all family offices are going to look like a family office. They might be the most valuable person you met at the whole event. So appreciate you keeping those ideas in mind just to get the most out of your time here today.